What's up guys, Carlos here, aka Lobo Films, and today I'm going to show you how to import my LUT pack into Premiere Pro, and then I'm also going to show you how I like to color grade my clips and how I use the LUT pack with my clips. Now I don't want to consider this a tutorial just because I feel like I'm not good enough to teach people how to color grade, but I do get requests all the time of people asking me how I do it or what my process for it is. And I'm completely cool with sharing that with you guys. So if there's any professional colorists or color graders or experts in that field, they're gonna be watching this video or stumble across this video and you see something that I've done wrong, or if there's a tip that you could give me to get better, feel free to comment below. I just ask that you do it respectfully. I'm not by any means saying that what I do is right and you have to do it my way. This is just things that I've learned over time that have been working for me. So with that being said, let's jump into Premiere Pro. All right, so before we jump into Premiere Pro, I'm gonna show you how to import the LUTs into Premiere Pro. Now, the first thing you wanna do is make sure that Premiere Pro, you're not like logged into it or anything, it's completely turned off, because if it is on or you have a project open and say you import these LUTs, well, they're not gonna show up until you restart it. So make sure Premiere Pro is turned off before you import the LUTs. So the first thing we're gonna do is say you pull up your LUTs and they're right here. Go ahead and select all of them, right click and hit copy. Next thing we're going to do, go to File, New Finder window, and we're going to go to Applications and then find whichever Adobe Premiere you're using. I use the 2019 version, but I'm on my laptop right now trying to finish this tutorial for you guys, so I only have the 2017 version. So what you'll do is you'll click on it, right click and show package contents. After that, double click on contents and then find the lumetri folder, and then we'll click on that, go to LUTs, click on that, and then in the creative tab go ahead and right click and then go ahead and paste your LUTs there. So then once I click on it, you will see that they are all right there, all the Lobo Film LUTs, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that I've made I'm still testing out, and maybe eventually I'll release those too. Let's go ahead and jump to Premiere Pro now. So I have these 4 clips laid out. This one's like in a gym, the next one is outdoors, and then a darker setting for the boxing video that I did, and then a little brighter lighting in the boxing area. So I'll go ahead and color grade all 4 of those and kind of show you like my process for it. The first thing I like to do is we'll go over here, click on the color, and then we have our scopes over here. I use the scopes a lot to start out just because it kind of helps me gauge where my whites should be and where my blacks should be. So the 100 mark, we want our whites to always be right about like touching them, but not over. Once you start going over, you'll start noticing that like things start to get blown out. So for instance, let me move the whites. You'll see they're going over, and then the lights behind him start kind of getting super bright and blown out, and then anything that's bouncing off of his skin starts to look pretty blown out. Same thing goes for blacks. Like once we start going below 0, you're going to start seeing tons of noise in the shadowy and darker areas over here by his arms, and then things in the background that are darker are going to start collecting noise. But this is where I start first before I even do any other kind of grading. So my whites are pretty like maxed out as it is. I mean, if I do go up, I might go a tad bit over, but yeah, I try not to. Same goes for my blacks. My blacks are fine how they are. So the next thing I'll go to is my shadows. So I can bring the shadows down a little bit. I'll bring the highlights up a little bit. And then I always like to add a little bit of contrast on my clips. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. So I'll mess with the exposure a little bit. I'll go up. Usually I go like 0.4, 0.5, but I've never gone 1.0 or higher. I've noticed if I try to go up higher than that, that's when your footage will start to look a little grainy and noisy and just not as sharp. So I'm gonna keep it at 0.5 for right now, and then we will come back and make adjustments after we apply the LUT. For temperature, I usually like my images to be a little warmer, and then with a tint of green to them That's just kind of like a look that I like. But again, when it comes to color grading, like, it's completely open to whatever you want your image to look like. I mean, you could always make, if you want to go for warmer looks, you can. If you want to go for colder, you can. You can completely control the temperature and the tint of your video, just however you want it to be portrayed. I'm gonna bring my tint to about -1.5, and I'll bring the temperature up just a tad bit. The last thing I'll do before I go to the creative tab will be mess with the saturation. Since I shoot in Scene A4, it is a little bit of a flatter profile, so you do have to add saturation back into your clip. I usually like to stay between 120, sometimes I'll go up to like 125, but I don't try to go much higher than that, because once you start going much higher, it starts getting like a really fake, like vibrant look, and I just don't like that. But that's me personally. So I'm gonna bring it back down to 120 or 119, that's fine. And then now we'll go to the creative tab, and right here where it says look, we'll click on that, and then our LUTs should be imported in here. So for this one, I think I'm gonna go with, we'll do the Lobo Cinematic 2. And right off the bat, when you add it, it's just like a little too much. So that's when you start messing with the intensity of the LUT right here. So you can pull back as much as you want, or leave it as high as you want. I've come to find that with all these LUTs, if you bring it down between 40 to 50% is like a real sweet spot, and the images start to look really cool. So for this one, I'm liking what 47% is looking like. And then with all of my clips, I've always sharpened it just a tad bit, not a lot. I just go about around 3 to 4, and yeah, I'll just leave it right there. Vibrance, I don't really mess with that at all, and I don't mess with the creative saturation. There are times, which I don't even need to do it right now for this one, but there are times where I'll go into the curves and mess with it a little bit. But yeah, I'm liking the way it's looking right now. So we'll go back to basic, and then I'm just gonna make a couple more little tweaks to it. I think I'm gonna bring the highlights down just a little bit and bring the shadow back up a little bit, and then maybe we can make it just a little bit warmer, because it's like a grungy looking gym. So I think if it looks warm, if it has like a warmer temperature with like a green tint, it like adds to the grungy feel of it. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with this grade right here. So let me show you guys before and after of what it looks like. So that was before, and that's after the grade. So pretty dramatic difference. It's looking good. Let's move on to the next clip. So here we have a more outdoor look, and let me click back on the scopes. My whites are already up pretty high, and we still have room to bring the blacks down just a little bit. So I'll bring them to about -1.4. That looks good. And my whites, I can bring them up just a tad bit, and we'll start bringing the shadows down. I'll bring the highlights down a little bit. I'll contrast the clip about 3.2, and then I'll bring the exposure up just a tad bit. Since I brought the highlights down, I'll bring the exposure up a little. We're outside, so I want it to look kind of like warmer, sunny, and then I'll add the green tint a little bit. And then let's bring the saturation up to about 120. And already, if I take the LUT off, or the corrections that I made, we're starting to see a pretty big difference. So let's go into the creative tab, and for this one, I think I'll go with, we'll do Lobo 2. And right away it's like a little aggressive, so let's bring the intensity down. Like I said before, like around 40%, 40 to 50 is usually a sweet spot. So we'll leave it right there. I'm gonna sharpen the image a little bit, and then we'll go into basics and start making some corrections. So right now it's a little too warm for me, so I'm gonna bring it back down a little cooler, and already just by doing that has changed it completely. Let's see. I might bring the shadows down a little more, and I'm gonna pull the highlights out. Bring some more highlights in. It's a little too much. Let's see. No, you know what? I'm actually gonna bring the highlights down. And then I'll raise the whites up just a little more. And that's looking pretty good. Let's see what it looks like when I turn it off. And that's a huge difference right there. It's looking good. And here you'll see we have a lot of room to play with as far as our whites go. So I'm gonna bring the whites up quite a bit. Blacks, I'm not even gonna touch them at all. And then we'll start bringing some shadows. I'm gonna bring my highlights up just a tad bit, but not too much, because I don't want it to start like looking at really aggressive around his face. We'll add a little bit of contrast, and I'll bring the exposure up a little bit. And then let's bring in our saturation to about 120. And then right here we can warm the clip up a little bit, and then again I'm gonna add that little bit of a green tint. Not a lot, because we don't want his face to look like completely yellow. We'll go to the creative tab, and then for this one I will try out the Lobo cinematic one. So I'm gonna bring the intensity down quite a bit. Let's do 40%. Again, I'm gonna sharpen my clip just a tad bit. And then right now it's looking a little too warm, so I'm gonna go ahead and tone back a little bit. And let me see what it looks like if we bring our tint to the other side. There we go. See, so for this one, you always have to kind of like gauge it and like mess with it and see like what's gonna look good to you. So for me, having the tint on the green was making his skin look almost really yellowish. So I adjusted it to what I believe looks good to me. We'll make a few more basic corrections. I'm gonna see what it looks like if we pull the highlights down a little bit. And maybe pull the shadows down a little more. And I'm actually gonna bring them out. About right there looks pretty good. And yeah, I'm actually really happy with this image. So let's see what it looks like if I was to turn the color grade off. And there we go, before and after. Thank you guys for watching. Comment below what you want to see next. Make sure you give the video a like, share, and also, once again, if there's any tips or anything that I did wrong or something I could change and do better, also comment below. I want my channel to be more so like a community, to where like I'm showing you guys things with my videos, and then in the comment section, you know, people are leaving tips or other things that help them with their editing. And that way, you know, I can read them and learn also. You know, at the end of the day, I think we're all trying to just become better filmmakers, better editors. And yeah, that's the overall goal, right? We all just want to keep improving, keep getting better, and most importantly, keep creating. So until next time, I'll see you guys.
We will progress, succeed, conquer, dominate, leave our mark, make some